Hello bookworms! Today I'm going to be doing my most anticipated contemporary and thriller books that are coming out in 2019. I'm going to be doing a video about them. I don't think I said the video part. Okay, so the way that I decided to do these is I always split up my contemporary thriller from my fantasy sci-fi because I can barely narrow down the list when I have separated into those two categories, let alone if I tried to do one giant video of everything that I'm looking forward to. I would literally be editing for the rest of my life. There are a lot of books that are coming out in 2019 that I am really looking forward to. The way that I decided to do this was I'm going to be talking about the books that I am most excited for that I have not yet already read. So even if I have it currently, if I haven't read it, it is able to make this list. I don't have any contemporary or thrillers that fall under that category, but that's the way I'm doing it for fantasy, so I'm just throwing that out there so you know. So these are my 15 most anticipated contemporary or thriller books. I'm going to be going over all of the books in release date order. They're not ranked other than that because I can't do that. So the first book on my list is Famous in a Small Town by Emma Mills, which comes out on January 15th. I really love Emma Mills's writing. I am obsessed with Foolish Hearts and This Adventure Ends. I really love both of them. I still have to read First and Then, but I love the cover of Famous in a Small Town, and there's no question I am reading everything that Emma Mills ever writes. I have to. So I personally don't need to know anything about it, but for you who might be interested in knowing what it's actually about, follows a girl named Sophie who lives in a small hometown, and she has a very close-knit group of friends, which I'm so happy about because Emma Mills writes friendships so well. Sophie's school's marching band has been chosen to march in the Rose Parade in LA, but they are a tiny town and they don't have the funds for that, so Sophie ends up being responsible for putting together a fundraising festival in order to raise the funds for the marching band to travel to LA. The way that she's decided to do it is to convince Megan Pleasant, who is their Midwestern town's only claim to fame, to come back to the town in order to headline the fair. But Megan has very publicly sworn that she would never return, so it's going to be quite the obstacle for Sophie to convince her to come back. Emma Mills is one of my favorite contemporary authors by far, so I am just dying to get my hands on a copy of this, and like I said, it comes out January 15th, so thankfully I won't have to be waiting that much longer, because that is the instant I have it, everything else will be dropped and I will be reading this. The next book on my list is Fame, Fate, and the First Kiss by Casey West. This book comes out on February 5th, and I personally always love reading Casey West books. She's another one of my favorite contemporary authors, and she's one of those authors where I know exactly what I'm gonna be getting when I go into one of her stories. If I'm looking for a cute, just adorable, sweet romance, I can depend on her to give me that, so I always look forward to reading her new books. This one follows a girl named Lacey who gets her big break, and she is starring in a film alongside one of the hottest guys in Hollywood, but unfortunately she is also trying to juggle that with finishing up her senior year, and her parents have hired this tutor for her that she thinks is just a complete nightmare. She cannot stand him. So the story is basically about Lacey having to juggle finishing school along with living out her dreams that she got this break from pretty early on. There's gonna be some on-set drama that she's gonna have to overcome, and then she also has an off-screen romance. I'm assuming that it's gonna be with the tutor that she thinks is a nightmare and not the very hot Hollywood actor, so we'll see how that goes. Next on my list is The Art of Losing by Lizzie Mason, and this one comes out on February 19th. Lizzie is such a sweetheart, and I am honestly just so excited to read her book. I was actually on a panel with Lizzie in Chicago at Book Expo, and that's where I first met her, and I had no idea that she was also a writer. I thought that she just worked in publishing, so I was very thrilled when I saw that she was coming out with a book. I actually even braved the BookCon crowds on Sunday. The only reason that I went that Sunday is because I wanted to get my hands on a copy of this book, and I did. This one is going to be a very hard-hitting contemporary that tackles very heavy topics. It follows a girl named Harley, and Harley is at a party when she catches her boyfriend cheating on her with her younger sister. So yeah, that's not good right from the get-go. So she kind of storms off and leaves them there, and as if that is not bad enough, her boyfriend decides to try to drive home even though he's drunk. So he's driving her sister and he gets into a car crash and he ends up being unscathed, but Harley's younger sister goes into a coma. So I feel like it's gonna be one of those things that's gonna like definitely make me cry. But Harley ends up finding herself reconnecting with one of her childhood friends. It's this neighbor named Roth. He himself has actually just gotten out of rehab and he's trying to deal with his own demons, but she is forming this like kind of close bond with him while she tries to confront the fact that her boyfriend or her ex-boyfriend really definitely has a drinking problem. So yeah, definitely expecting to cry, but really looking forward to reading this one. Next is a new young adult thriller that recently popped up on my radar, like very recently, and it is called Spectacle. It's by Jodi Lynn Zadrock, and it comes out on February 12th. This is one of those books that's kind of like a genre bender, but I decided to include it here because of the thriller aspect. It takes place in Paris in 1887. I think like it's no secret that I've just been obsessed with Paris books lately and like living for everything that is coming out. It is like the best. Spectacle is a murder mystery. It follows a 16-year-old named Nathalie. She writes the Daily Morgue column for Le Petit Journal. One day while she's investigating the murder of a young woman, she ends up getting a vision and she sees the woman being murdered from the murderer's perspective. Then more and more bodies start piling up and it seems like she is the only person who might be able to find out who this serial killer is because of her connection through these visions. Sounds like it's gonna be really good and I'm definitely looking forward to reading this one. The next book on my list is also a thriller and this one is called Killing November by Adriana Mather. Adriana Mather wrote How to Hang a Witch and Haunting the Deep, and I really enjoyed How to Hang a Witch, but I'm really looking forward to reading a more contemporary thriller from her. So Killing November takes place in this school that is just like completely off the grid. I think it's in like a deeply wooded area. There is no electricity, there is no internet, and there is a very like eye for eye punishment system. All of the students who go there are the children of the world's most elite strategists, and they're all training to become like assassins or spies and all that kind of stuff. They have courses like knife throwing and the art of deception and poisons. And at the school, personal relationships are completely discouraged and competition is everything. November is the newest student to be admitted to the school, and once she gets there, one of the other students turns up murdered, and November finds herself as like the prime suspect. So she basically has to solve this case before she is implicated and found guilty of this crime that she did not commit. So I'm pretty excited to read it. I also really like the cover and I also love things that take place at boarding schools, so I think that I'm really gonna enjoy this one. Next on my list is The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston. This is the second book in the Once Upon a Con series. I really loved Geekerella. Geekerella was a contemporary Cinderella retelling, but it really focuses on fandom and a lot of it takes place at a convention, and oh my gosh, it was just so well done. But this second book is actually going to be a retelling of The Prince and the Pauper, and it's an LGBT retelling as well. So this one follows a girl named Imogen, and Imogen is obsessed with the fandom Starfield, but her favorite character, Princess Amara, is going to be killed off, and she does not want that to happen. But the reason that they're going to kill her off is because the actress who plays her, Jessica Stone, is like over it and wants to cut all ties with this fandom. Jess and Imogen end up being lookalikes, and the two of them just immediately dislike each other. But when the Starfield script leaks, the two of them end up having to switch places in order to figure out who it was that actually leaked it, because the actress Jessica who plays Princess Amara is the one that everyone is like kind of pointing their fingers at. They both want to get to the bottom of this and find out the truth. So the two of them switch places and it just sounds like it's gonna be great. If it's anything like Geekerella, I know that I'm going to love it. And this one comes out on April 2nd. Next on my list is Serious Moonlight by Jen Bennett. This is one that I actually have on my TBR for this month, but I haven't read it yet, and I really love Jen Bennett. She is an amazing writer. All of her contemporary stories have been so good, so I'm like very much looking forward to reading this one. This one comes out on April 16th. It follows a girl named Birdie who is a mystery book aficionado with a very overactive imagination. She actually was homeschooled, so she does not have very much experience interacting with the public. She takes a job at a historic hotel in Seattle the summer before she's leaving to go to college, and she ends up befriending Daniel Akoy, who is the hotel's charismatic young van driver. Now, Daniel actually believes that a very famous, very reclusive, never before seen in public author is residing in their hotel, and the two of them team up and are determined to uncover the mystery behind this reclusive author. Plus, I'm assuming that there's romance because obviously it is a Jen Bennett book, and yeah, I think it's gonna be great. The next book that I'm looking forward to is If I'm Being Honest by Emily Wibberley and Austin Siegman Broca, and the two of them are actually married. Their first book, Always Never Yours, is on my TBR and I'm planning on reading that soon, but this one I'm particularly looking forward to because it is actually a Shakespeare retelling. In the first one, they actually had like a high school production of Romeo and Juliet, but this one's gonna be more of a direct retelling of The Taming of the Shrew. So it follows a brutally honest girl named Cameron who does not have a reputation for being the nicest person. She is the queen bee at her elite LA private school, but after she kind of embarrasses herself in front of her crush, she's worried that she's lost him forever. In an attempt to win him back, she resolves to tame herself, and she decides to go back and make amends with all of the people that she has kind of wronged in the past, beginning with this boy that she was not very nice to in like first grade or something. And the two of them end up having a lot more in common than she was expecting, and they really bond over this app that he's developing. Then she starts to question whether she should really be changing herself for somebody else. Sounds like it's going to be very cute. And this one comes out on April 23rd. Next on my list is Somewhere Only We Know by Maureen Gu, and this one comes out on May 7th. This, I really love the cover for it, except that I don't like that the guy looks so awkward. I think that he shouldn't be on the cover at all. It should just be this girl with this like beautiful rainbow topography. Just throwing that out there. But I really like that all of Maureen Gu's titles are song titles or lyrics from songs that make me nostalgic for like the past when I was younger and used to listen to those. I really loved her last two books, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting this one as soon as I can possibly get my hands on a copy of it. And the elevator pitch for this novel is basically that sparks are about to fly between this K-pop starlet and a tabloid reporter. So it follows a girl named Lucky who's very famous in Asia, and she's just come to the United States and she's about to perform on The Tonight Show for the first time, which is like a huge deal because it could get her an American audience. The night before, she's stuck in her hotel and all she wants is a hamburger. So she decides to leave her room, and that is when she runs into Jack, who is our tabloid reporter, who has just snuck into said fancy hotel in order to do his job that his parents don't know that he does. And the two of them run into each other, and I am just sold. Like, that sounds like it's gonna be super adorable. Next on my list is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. This book comes out on June 4th, and I actually talked about it in a recent book haul. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for this one. This is actually more of an adult romance than young adult, but I am so excited. I am honestly just completely infatuated with the premise. I also really love this cover. It's gonna be so good. So it follows first son, Alex Claremont Diaz, who is part of the White House trio along with his intrepid sister and the vice president's genius granddaughter. Oh yeah, and did I mention that it's his mother that is actually the president? Because that's exciting. Photos end up surfacing between Alex and his arch nemesis, Prince Harry. And once they leak to the tabloids, they kind of threaten the relationship between America and Britain. Plan for damage control is enacted. The pair of them are forced into faking a friendship with one another, but then romance blooms and they're really gonna need to figure out how to cope with things because they are two very prominent people in two very different countries. I'm honestly just so excited for this one. Another June 4th release that I'm really looking forward to is Virtually Yours by Sarvanez Tosh. Sarv wrote The Geek's Guide to Unrequited Love, which is like one of my favorite contemporary YA romances ever. I think it was just so well done and so different from what you would expect. So when I saw that she was writing a new book, I was like, yes, I am on board. So in this book, we're following an NYU freshman named Miriam, and Miriam has not dated anyone since her high school boyfriend dumped her 5 months ago. He was like her sweetheart and she was totally in love with him, but she has this coupon that is expiring for a virtual dating service and she decides to take advantage of it. So after filling everything out, the app actually chooses 3 matches for her One of them being her ex-boyfriend who dumped her, the other one being her new current best friend that she just met at school, and the third one is a random person that she has no relationship with yet at all. So it sounds like it's going to be very funny, and Miriam has to kind of decide whether she wants to trust what's in her heart or whether she wants to trust what the app is telling her for who she's technically most compatible with. Sounds like it's gonna be really good. Next on my list is another Casey West book, and this one's coming out on July 9th, and I'm really looking forward to it. I actually think that this one sounds more appealing to me than the other one because this one involves event planning. I love that kind of thing. This one follows a girl named Sophie, and Sophie works for the florist in her small town, so she is basically at every single event that goes on there, like whether it is a wedding, a funeral, and like literally anything, she's there. Then a new fancy chef moves into town, and there's a boy named Andrew Hart who also ends up being at all of these same events that Sophie is at. At first, Sophie hates him, like she thinks that he is so pretentious and stuck up and just wants to do her job without being bothered by him. Totally imagine that they're going to be dating by the end of it. Sophie just wants to like do her job and apply to design school and not complicate any of her future life plan. But I imagine that as she gets closer to Andrew, she's going to start questioning that, and she might end up throwing some of those plans out the window. Who knows? But I also really like that the story is told over the course of an entire year, so we follow them at lots of events and lots of interactions. I can't wait to read it. The next book on my list does not yet have an official release date, but I just know that it's coming in fall of 2019, and that is Rated by Melissa Gray. Melissa wrote the Girl at Midnight series, and that was a fantasy series that I actually included in my underrated YA fantasy video very recently, but I really loved it. I really love her writing, so I'm very much looking forward to reading her next book. It's gonna be completely different, totally different genre. It's kind of like a soft sci-fi novel, but it has like a thriller element to it, which is why I'm including it on this list. So it takes place in a world where everybody relies on this rating system to figure out a person's worth. The higher your rating, like the more valued you're seen as, and the lower your rating, the harder you have to work in order to raise your rating and be seen as a better person. So in Rated, we're specifically following 6 students who go to this prestigious private school. Each of their lives are shaken to the core when an act of vandalism occurs at their school. I am like already intrigued and I want to figure out this mystery. I'm so excited to read it. And it also kind of reminds me of that Doctor Who episode where everyone has like the buttons and they get upvoted or downvoted. I don't know if you've seen that or know what I'm talking about, but yeah, I am very much looking forward to this one. The next book also does not have a release date, but is also slated for fall of 2019, and that is 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. As you guys know, I'm obsessed with Ashley Elston. I love her books, so obviously I'm gonna read this one. This one is the first one that does not have a thriller aspect to it. It is a straight contemporary, and since her last book, The Lying Woods, really straddled that line and felt way more contemporary to me, I know that I'm gonna love this one as well. So it doesn't have a fully fleshed out synopsis just yet, but from the tiny bit that is on Goodreads, like, I'm here for it. It follows a girl who breaks up with her boyfriend right before the holidays, and her whole family and like friends and stuff feel really bad for her and they really want to help her get over her broken heart. They set up a series of 10 blind dates for her over the course of 10 days. This book is pitched as The Holiday Meets My Big Fat Greek Wedding. I can't wait to read it. And then finally, the last book on this list is Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This one is coming out on October 1st of 2019, and this is Leigh's first book that is an adult novel, and it is a thriller novel, so definitely outside of what we normally see from her. It follows a 20-something-year-old girl named Alex Stern, and Alex is a high school dropout, and she also has a criminal record, but she has mysteriously been offered the second chance to go and be a freshman at Yale University. Book 1 is going to follow her freshman year at Yale while she is monitoring these secret societies, which tend to engage in very sinister and occult activities. I honestly just think it'll be so fun to see something so different from what Leigh normally writes, so I'm really looking forward to reading this one. So those are all the books that I have to talk about. Those are my 15 most anticipated contemporary and thriller novels. Let me know if there are any of them that you're looking forward to, or if you found something new on this list, which I really hope that you did. I always make a larger list, I feel like, than other booktubers tend to, and it's because I want you guys to know about more than just like the books that everyone is talking about and that everyone is excited for, because there is just so much more out there. So I hope that you guys liked the video, and that's all that I have for this one, and I'll see you soon in a new one. Goodbye!